Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We are talking all things Premier League as the final week of the season is upon us. It is a huge week for England's top tier division. The Premier League season is drawing to a close, and whilst the top and bottom of the Premier League table may have already been decided, the race for Champions League places is still very much on. And with 2 games remaining, it looks like the battle for a top 4 finish will go down right to the wire, right to the final day of the season. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be looking at who's involved in that race. We're going to be looking at all those sides that are in that race and that battle for a place in next season's Champions League and what they have to do to achieve Champions League football for next season, along with also putting my 2 cents into the equation and giving my opinions on how I think this season will end for those sides. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get back to talking about the race for top 4. It's a huge week for those that are chasing top 4 as the current Premier League season enters its penultimate and final round of fixtures for the conclusion of this campaign. And with the relegation battle and Premier League title, like I say, already being decided, the race for top 4 is very much on, with realistically 3 clubs battling for the final 2 spaces within the top 4 in order to qualify for next season's Champions League. Currently, the table and the race for top 4 looks like this. As you can see, Leicester occupy 3rd on 66 points. Chelsea are in 4th on 64 points. Liverpool are in 5th on 63 points. And I also have to point out that however unlikely it may seem, both Tottenham and West Ham are sat in 6th and 7th, are both on 59 points, and therefore still have a small chance of making it into the top 4, but they require both Liverpool and Chelsea to lose their remaining 2 fixtures and for either one of them to win both of theirs. Like I say, unlikely, but stranger things have happened. Now, the main game that could decide the fate of the top 4 battle seems to be taking place on Tuesday night when Chelsea host Leicester at Stamford Bridge. The Foxes, of course, fresh off of their FA Cup triumph over the weekend, in which coincidentally they managed to beat Thomas Tuchel's side in order to make that happen, will meet Chelsea again on Tuesday in what is arguably just as big or even as bigger of a game than the FA Cup final itself. A win for Brendan Rodgers' side there will see them secure Champions League football for the next campaign, something they've not managed to achieve since that phenomenal title-winning season of 2015-2016. A win for Chelsea, though, doesn't set anything in stone, but does make the race go properly right down to the wire on the final day of the campaign. But regardless of the result there, the real major player in this race, the real proper club with the fate of the Champions League places within their own hands, is very much 5th place Liverpool. A win for them in their midweek clash against Burnley will see them leapfrog one of those 2 teams above them regardless of the result. And, you know, all the Reds need to do is just win that game. And then, of course, they go on to their final game of the season against Crystal Palace on Sunday. And all they need to do there is just keep their nerve, and they will remain in the top 4 and secure a top 4 finish in what has been a very difficult and very tricky season for last season's Premier League champions. As a Liverpool fan, I found myself watching from a nervy position, watching the West Brom game on Sunday. And then, of course, you have that absolutely incredible, absolutely phenomenal, absolutely unbelievable moment of all people, goalkeeper Alisson Becker heading home the winning goal in that game. Absolutely incredible, like I say. But the Reds rode their luck there. The Reds rode their luck, and I can't see that luck lasting for the final 2 games of this season. Having that luck last 2 more times in their final 2 games of this season. And I know at this stage it's all about winning. It's all about getting across the finish line. More than actually doing it in a stylish or even a convincing way of going about it. So I'm prepared for what may feel like 2 of the longest 90-minute games of football I'll ever see, and especially because them games being against sides that may not have nothing to play for, but they have proven to be a thorn in the Reds' side and have caused the Reds problems in the past. The Reds just need to get 6 points out of 6 by any means necessary and get out of this season with something that will feel like a huge achievement for them, given how unlucky and at the same time poor the Reds' campaign has been. Meanwhile, back to Leicester after their game against Chelsea. That will be followed up by another tricky game when they come face to face with Tottenham on the final day of the season. On paper, that game will always look to be a tasty and intriguing encounter and a very good game that hopefully should be very good for the spectators to watch. But it could be a bit of a dead rubber by the time that game comes around, because obviously, should the Foxes beat Chelsea, they'll have obviously secured Champions League football. But if not, then this will be a huge game for Leicester, a tricky encounter as they look to secure top 4 and not miss out on the final day, just exactly like they did last season at this point of the campaign. As for Chelsea, they have a final game encounter with Aston Villa to contend with their pursuit of top 4 very much on the line there. Again, very dependent on who holds all the cards, who holds the advantage going into the final day of the season, depending on that result on Tuesday night. And maybe you can even throw in the Liverpool result the day after as for who holds the cards going into the final day of the top 4 race. Of course, the Blues do have an alternative route into next season's Champions League should their league plans collapse within the final 2 games of the season. The Blues can finish 5th and still qualify for the Champions League should they, of course, beat Manchester City. Should they, of course, beat Manchester City in the Champions League final, of course, coming up in a couple of weeks' time. A win against Pep Guardiola's side will see the Blues back in next season's Champions League, back to defend their European crown next season. And from what I've researched and what I've heard, England will definitely have 5 English club representatives in next season's Champions League should that scenario play out. It isn't like Chelsea will finish 5th, win the Champions League, and then the 4th place team will have to drop out to accommodate for Chelsea back in the Champions League. That won't happen. There will be 5 English clubs in next season's Champions League should that scenario play out. Look, clearly Liverpool hold all the cards right now and right now have their whole entire season's fate in their hands in terms of this race for top 4. And I fully expect them to go on and pick up 6 points out of 6. They have the more favourable fixtures, shall we say, for Champions League qualification for next season. And I firmly do believe, and I have said before, that Liverpool are my pick to fill in one of them top 4 places. Then it's just a question of who will join them, Chelsea or Leicester. Ideally, I would love for the Foxes to qualify. They came so close last season, but they kind of bottled it towards the end of the last campaign. I know they've just had FA Cup success for the first time in their history, and it's already been a successful season in that aspect. But getting Champions League football would, of course, be the icing on the cake for a club who I think near enough every football fan has a bit of a soft spot for somewhere within them. Arguably, the Foxes have the trickier final day fixture of them and the Blues, but if they take that hype and that confidence from not only winning the FA Cup on Saturday, but of course beating Chelsea to achieve that, there's no reason why Brendan Rodgers' side can't have the top 4 qualification already wrapped up before this Sunday's encounter with Spurs. As for Chelsea, they've got the chance to redeem themselves against Leicester on Tuesday night, following that FA Cup disappointment on Saturday against the Foxes. And then, of course, further on from that, in a couple of weeks' time, you have the chance to redeem themselves further by redeeming themselves in a final competition. They, of course, have that Champions League encounter with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City in the final. So really, the Blues have two opportunities to claim Champions League football for next season. And you have to feel like if they don't do that, if they don't get Champions League football next season by either finishing within the top four or by winning the Champions League, then this season has been a huge failure for the club, despite the best efforts of Thomas Tuchel in coming in halfway through the season and trying to rectify and save and put things right for this club following the disappointment of the midway point of this season under Frank Lampard. For me, like I say, the ideal scenario would be that Liverpool and Leicester both claim top four by the end of the campaign, and that Chelsea would then mean they fall out of the top four, they'd go fifth. And I think, ideally, I would rather Chelsea win the Champions League than Manchester City, meaning that Chelsea would go on to eventually get Champions League football through that avenue, through that gateway. But it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for the club. Can I really see Chelsea winning the Champions League? They definitely don't go into that game as favourites. Manchester City will be wanting this more than anything. So it could be very, very difficult, and it might be a very, very bitter end to the season for Chelsea going forward. But either way, the top four race is certainly heading down to the wire, down to the final game of the season. And it will be an interesting final 180 minutes of the 2020-2021 season in terms of the top four race for Leicester, Chelsea and Liverpool. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the final two games of the season? What have you made of this season so far? What do you make of the final two games in terms of the top four race? Who do you see getting Champions League football for next season? Will Chelsea get through? Will Leicester hold their nerve? Or will Liverpool, the team to seemingly hold all the cards in this final battle for top four, manage to overcome them and manage to play their cards well in getting Champions League football for next season? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions down below in the comment section. I'm sure that will make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.